rushed to join the fight. The coin tossers next to us ran to join in too, the last throw spinning unheeded until it clanked to a stop. Within seconds, about 20 guys were throwing punches, kicking, yelling, cursing, and tearing wildly at each other. Dogs barked and snarled, and 30 or so other park people, many of them drunk and staggering, gathered around to cheer. In the center of it all, Marco was pulling on one end of his victim, while the man's friends were pulling from the other. Allies of Marco saw their opportunity and set about to pound the defenseless man's face or plant steel-toed boots in his gut. When blood started dripping onto the cement, the brawl seemed to get more feverish. "Take him in! Take him in!" someone yelled. They wanted to drag their prey deeper into the park, away from the cops or any passerby who might try to spoil their fun. By now, Sam and I were standing, looking around for a squad car, for any sign that this wouldn't end with a dead man in Golden Gate Park. Nothing. "We probably need to get out of here," I mumbled. Sam agreed. As we picked up our stuff and shuffled off, the brawl shifted further into the park. All I could think to do was pray, and wonder again what Sam and I had been thinking when we decided to step out of our comfortable world and into this. A flicker of lightning. The idea had dropped into my brain one Sunday morning while I sat in church. The pastor was delivering a powerful sermon about living the Christian life. The gist of it was, be the Christian that you say that you are. Suddenly I was shocked to realize that I had just driven 20 minutes past the world that needed me to be the Christian that I say that I am, in order to hear a sermon entitled, Be the Christian You Say That You Are. Soon I would drive back past that same world to the privilege of my comfortable life on a campus at a Christian college. Thinking ahead to my next week, I knew several things would happen. I knew I'd hear more lectures about being a caring Christian or living a godly life. I'd read more books about who God is and what the world needs now. I'd spend more time late at night down at a coffee shop with my friends, kicking around ultimate questions and finely delivered opinions about the world. And then I'd jump into my warm bed and turn out the lights. Another day gone. But we were created to be and to do, not merely to discuss. The hypocrisy in my life troubled me. No, I wasn't in the grip of rampant sin, but at the same time, for the life of me, I couldn't find a connecting thread of radical living obedience between what I said about my world and how I lived in it. Sure, I claimed that Christ was my stronghold, my peace, my sustenance, and my joy, but I did all of that from the safety of my comfortable upper-middle-class life. I never really had to put my claims to the test. I sat there in church, struggling to remember a time when I'd actually needed to lean fully on Christ rather than on my own abilities. Not much came to mind. What was Paul's statement in Philippians? I have learned what it means to be content in all circumstances, whether with everything or with nothing. With nothing? The idea came instantly, like the flash of a camera or a flicker of lightning. It left me breathless, and it changed my life. What if I stepped out of my comfortable life with nothing but God and put my faith to the test alongside of those who live with nothing every day? The picture that came with that question was one of me homeless and hungry on the streets of an American city. Hard on the heels of the idea came the questions. What if I didn't actually believe the things that I argued with so much certainty? What, for example, if I didn't truly believe that Christ is my identity, my strength, my hope? Or worse, what if I leaped in faith, but God didn't catch me? My mind reeled. And then there were the practical questions. Could I survive on the streets? How much did I really want to learn to be content always with nothing? What would my friends think? What would my parents think? My pastors? My professors? Would I be okay? What if I got sick? What if I starved? What if I got beat up? What if I froze? What if I'm wrong? Am I crazy? Will I die? But already, I had decided. I walked out of the church that morning, seized by a big idea, assaulted by dozens of questions, and sure that I had heard deep in my heart a still, small voice saying, "Follow me." Why would you want to do that? Of course, what my idea might actually require took a while to sink in. I would have to put the rest of my life on hold, leave school, and sign up for months of risk, rejection, and plain old misery. There aren't too many brochures for that kind of thing. I started with my family. When I called to give them my long, excited ramble, I heard only silence on the other end. Then a few expressions of their stunned disbelief. "Why would you want to do that?" my dad asked. Determined to hear him out, I asked him to explain what he meant. And he did. Why would you want to leave school, leave your friends, leave your family, leave your life, and do this? Why would you want to put your mother and me through the stress, confusion, and worry? Why would you jeopardize all that you've worked so hard for and all that we've paid for, all that you have to look forward to for this? Each of his questions hit home. I thought for a moment. Well, I said finally, I think that's sort of complicated. I believe I must. I don't know for certain yet that I will do this. I still have a lot of people to talk with. But I believe that it's something I must do. I would be heading home for the summer in a couple of months, at which time my parents said we could discuss this crazy idea a little bit more. We agreed to talk about it face to face. It would be a hard conversation. I plunged into researching homelessness on the streets of America. I read first-hand accounts, sociological studies, autobiographies of people who had given their lives to work with the homeless and addicted. Even at first glance, the scope of homelessness in America was much worse than I had imagined. According to the National Coalition for the Homeless, in the United States, more than 3.5 million people experience homelessness during any given year. That means that more than 1% of our population this year will be eating out of trash cans and sleeping under bridges. Soon I was meeting every month with the director of the Santa Barbara Rescue Mission. Then I began volunteering at the mission twice a week to learn more about the men and women who came through its doors. Over the next year, I probably looked like any other college student, studying hard, playing hard, juggling classes and work, but all the while I kept pushing on my crazy idea. To my surprise, at every turn and with every conversation, the idea was only confirmed. Even people who should have been telling me no encouraged me to press on. The Council of Friends. One day I sat in the office of the president of the Denver Rescue Mission, laying out my thoughts. I figured if anyone would know enough to tell me to turn back, he'd be the one. But after he thought for a while, he looked up at me, puzzled by what he was about to say.
I can't believe I'm saying this,
he said,
but I think your idea is a good one, and I have a feeling that it is very important for you to do this. It will be dangerous, of course, and there are no guarantees, but if you plan well, you can succeed, and you certainly won't come back the same person.
I walked out of his office convinced for the first time that what I had wanted to happen actually would happen. And something else. An invitation to begin my journey by checking into his facility, just like any other transient off the street. About this time, I also became convinced that I needed some kind of advisory group that would give me guidance and hold me accountable. Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed." I wanted to be wise and to succeed, and more than that, I wanted to bring glory to the Lord in everything this idea entailed. So I began praying that God would lead me to the right men. It didn't take long to develop a list of men who had been, and still were, having a significant impact on my life as a Christian. My campus pastor, my youth pastor, 2 rescue mission presidents, a close friend from Oregon, and a professor. Each man I talked to responded positively to my proposal and agreed to mentor and advise me. With their help, I began putting a travel plan together. After considering a lot of alternatives, we settled on 6 cities: Denver, Washington, D.C., Portland, San Francisco, Phoenix, and San Diego. These cities seemed representative of the American urban homeless scene, as well as being places where I would have a backup, personal contact of some kind in case of an emergency. My advisors also helped me fine-tune my overall purpose. We boiled it down to 3 objectives. Number 1, to better understand the life of the homeless in America, and to see firsthand how the church is responding to their needs. Number 2, to encourage others to live out loud for Christ in whatever way God is asking them to. Number 3, to learn personally what it means to depend on Christ for my daily physical needs, and to experience contentment and confidence in Him. Enter Sam. Then there was the issue of companionship. Jesus sent out His disciples 2 by 2, a model that seemed right for my new undertaking as well. Besides, I wanted a traveling partner. I pictured long, lonely nights huddled in a stairwell. I worried about attacks. Another person would make everything easier. But a traveling partner turned out to be hard to come by. Some friends I approached didn't catch the vision. Others couldn't take time off from school or work. 3 months before I was to depart on the streets, it looked as though I would be going alone. And then I met Sam Purvis. At 6'3" or so, Sam was big, about the same size as me, which was an added bonus. 2 big guys are much less likely to get messed with on the streets. He was easygoing and needed a haircut. Right away, I saw possibilities. Sam had gone to the University of Oklahoma for a semester, but was taking a semester off. He happened to be on my campus, and heard through the grapevine about my proposed journey. The more we talked, the more interested he became in joining me. I was encouraged by Sam's excitement about the trip and passion for...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it. at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.